What happens if a soldier only carries 150 rounds of ammunition and runs out in the middle of a battle? Well, put it this way. It may look like the army is giving one soldier 150 rounds. But in many situations, it is more like the army is giving 150 rounds a human delivery system. You might think, only 150 rounds. That's not enough, but on a real battlefield, there is a very real chance that your job is not to personally spend all 150 rounds like the main character in a shooter game. Your job might simply be to carry those rounds forward at the cost of your own life, so someone else can keep fighting. In many battles, a lot of soldiers never even live long enough to empty their magazines. Hardcore World War II shooters, games like Rising Storm or Hell Let Loose, have already made the battlefield feel much more brutal than ordinary arcade shooters. But even they still give people the wrong idea. In a real attack, many soldiers are gone before they ever clearly see the enemy. If you survive long enough to spot the enemy, raise your weapon, and fire back, congratulations, you are already doing better than a lot of people who went forward with you. People imagine war as if you were dropped into pub with 150 rounds and a rifle. Real war is often more like this. Someone suspects there may be enemy troops on a small hill. They report the coordinates. Then rockets, artillery shells, airdrop bombs, and incendiary weapons start taking turns covering the area. And you are still worrying that 150 rounds are not enough. What is this? A zombie mode match in Crossfire? Are you playing a challenge mission? A bomb defusal round? Real life usually does not give you that kind of ammo-spending fantasy. In many cases, within those 150 rounds, one of two things happens. Either you go down, and the enemy picks up your rifle, or the enemy goes down, and you pick up his. And to put it a little brutally, if the guy next to you gets hit before firing a single shot, your side just gained another 150 rounds. On a battlefield, if you are not mindlessly spraying all the time, 150 rounds is often enough. And if you are the kind of person who only knows how to spray nonstop, you usually do not live very long anyway. So in that sense, 150 rounds is still enough. A lot of people have been spoiled by video game battles. They think war means running around and going rat-a-tat-tat all day. But real war does not work like that. Even in Call of Duty, one life might last 10 minutes if you are lucky. The difference is, in a game, you respawn. On a real battlefield, soldiers do not. They are not wandering around like game characters, looting buildings, checking every corner for supplies, and looking for fair one-on-one gunfights. There is an old claim that Soviet logistics officers looked at the fighting in Stalingrad and found that many new soldiers did not survive very long after entering combat. Whether or not every version of that story is exact, the cruel logic behind it is very real. In a battle of extreme attrition, sometimes the rifle does not need to be built to last forever, because the man carrying it may not last long enough to wear it out. If the rifle itself may not even live long enough to break from overuse, why are you imagining every soldier needs to drag around hundreds and hundreds of extra rounds? Of course, extreme cases are different. Urban combat, long sieges, being cut off from supplies, and fighting in a place where resupply has completely collapsed are special situations. But in a normal modern battlefield environment, many soldiers will never get the calm, convenient opportunity to slowly fire every single round they carry. The war people imagine is this. You are inserted into the battlefield, rifle in hand, and you shoot your way from one side of the city to the other. The war you may actually experience is more like this. First, you take a ship, then a train, then a truck. After several days of being bounced around and half asleep, you finally arrive somewhere. Then someone tells you to get off, and you start digging. After digging, you eat, sleep, stand guard, move things, and listen to distant explosions every now and then. Then one day, someone tells you to get back on the truck. You travel again for several more days. You arrive at another place. And what do you do there? You dig again, eat again, sleep again, stand guard again. Then suddenly, you are told to move again. But this time, before you even reach the destination, the road gets blown apart. So you get out, repair the road, move equipment, dig again, and finally reach the new position. You have barely started building the defensive works when, far away, a blinding white light appears. It is so bright that it looks like the sun has fallen onto the earth. As a soldier, you know that is not the sun. That is a nuclear explosion. And in the instant you realize it, you are gone. You did not fire a single shot. That is the part many shooter games do not teach people. They create the impression that war is just two groups of people shooting at each other until one side drops. You fire a few rounds, hit a few targets, and the fight is over. But a real battlefield is often incredibly boring for long stretches of time. You are marching, carrying equipment, digging, waiting, standing guard, repairing roads, moving supplies, changing positions, or trying to sleep while the ground shakes somewhere in the distance. The actual time you spend firing can be measured in seconds. A single magazine can be emptied in half a minute. But most firing is not the clean, precise headshot fantasy people imagine. It is suppression. It is noise, pressure, fear, confusion, and trying to keep the other side's head down. And the moment you carefully aim at someone, you also expose yourself. In a typical encounter, shooting often falls into a few rough situations. First, maybe the enemy is a large vehicle convoy, and your unit is just moving on foot. If you open fire carelessly, you are basically volunteering to be erased. You are not taking the fight to them. You are telling everyone over there, hey, I am right here. Please send something explosive. Second, maybe the enemy is also a small group on foot, and your side is moving on foot too. In that case, both sides may not have that much ammunition. People fire, suppress, judge the situation, and if things look bad, they disengage. Most of the time, everyone is still trying to move, survive, and avoid being trapped. That is why, in many situations, reducing weight is more useful than carrying a mountain of extra bullets. Every extra pound matters. Water matters. Medical supplies matter. Radios matter. Batteries matter. Tools matter. Machine gun ammunition matters. Mortar rounds matter. After World War II, except in special environments like urban warfare and jungle warfare, infantry have often depended on rifles for less than people imagine. The real stars of the battlefield are usually machine guns, mortar, artillery, tanks, air support, rockets, and other support weapons. If you are in a position with organized supply, and your rifle ammunition runs low, you can often get more. But as long as the machine gun is still firing, your individual rifle is probably not the thing deciding the entire battle. If you have extra carrying capacity, it may be more useful to help the machine gunner carry another belt of ammunition. And if your squad has a mortar, that is even more obvious. The mortar team would love it if everyone helped carry a few extra rounds. One mortar shell landing in the right place can do more than you lying on the ground and squeezing your trigger for half an hour. As communications technology improves and precision weapons become more common, infantry in open warfare may increasingly act like forward observers, drone operators, target spotters, or fire control nodes. In that world, the rifle becomes more of a self-defense tool. Your real job may not be to trade rifle shots with the enemy. Your job may be to find the enemy, mark the enemy, report the enemy, and then let artillery shells, rockets, drones, loitering munitions, or guided weapons solve the problem. Even back in World War II, many artillery observers carried only pistols. They had to carry maps, radios, optical instruments, range-finding equipment, and other gear. They did not always have the space or the need to carry a full rifle with a heavy load of ammunition. And if an artillery observer was discovered, the normal answer was not to stand there and have a heroic rifle duel. The answer was to move, hide, escape if possible, or call in fire. Looking at future urban warfare, the main threat to infantry may not even be a rifle sticking out of a window. It may be a small explosive drone, a racing quadcopter, a loitering munition, or some other small smart weapon coming around a corner. In that situation, your rifle is not a magic answer. Something can appear suddenly from above, from a window, from behind cover, or from a street you thought was empty. If you have reached the point where your rifle is the only thing keeping you alive, that usually means the fight has become very close and very dangerous. And if your plan is to fire all 150 rounds before you even think about retreating, there is a good chance you have already waited too long. So yes, 150 rounds for an infantry soldier can actually be quite a lot. Because in many situations, the rifle in a soldier's hands is not there so he can become the main character and clear the whole map. It is there for self-defense, suppression, finishing a close threat, protecting teammates, and staying alive long enough for the real firepower to arrive. If we are talking about land warfare, the weapons that cause the most damage are often not ordinary rifles. It is artillery, mortar, machine guns, tanks, airstrikes, rockets, explosives, and now, increasingly, drones. Land warfare is built around firepower. Infantry do not usually win by charging forward and trading rifle ammunition with the enemy until someone runs out. Infantry scout, occupy, search, advance, secure ground, confirm targets, and force the enemy to reveal themselves. Once the enemy is found, the job is to bring firepower onto them. A rough version of the process might look like this. First, rockets or artillery cover an area and disrupt the enemy's deployment. But the enemy is not stupid. They may hide in underground positions, caves, bunkers, trenches, basements, or reinforced buildings. Then heavier artillery hits again, trying to smash strong points, break structures, and destroy key positions. After that, tanks and infantry push forward together. If enemy infantry come out and open fire, they reveal their positions. Then mortar, artillery, or other support weapons can be called in. The shells arrive, and suddenly the people who thought they were safely firing from cover have a much bigger problem. From the outside, it may look like the rifles and machine guns are making all the noise. But the person doing some of the most dangerous work may be the guy on the radio, calmly calling out coordinates. He may not fire many rounds himself, but he is directing some of the most terrifying weapons on the battlefield. So, what does an army rely on? Firepower. Artillery has been called the god of war for a reason, and even today, that idea has not disappeared. Guns, rockets, mortar, precision shells, guided munitions, and fire support systems remain at the heart of land combat. A lot of what the army does is built around delivering, protecting, directing, and surviving firepower. Without artillery and support weapons, infantry have a much harder time. Without fire support, many attacks turn into people paying with their lives for every few meters of ground. So stop asking whether 150 rounds is enough. The real question is not whether you can fire all 150 rounds. The real question is whether you will live long enough to need them. And that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.